We're back from closed session. Announcements from closed session. Mr. Dolan's contract was discussed in closed session. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of the salary and/or fringe benefits for the executive position of superintendent of schools. Mr. Dolan is currently employed as the district superintendent of schools. It is proposed that Mr. Dolan's contract as the superintendent of schools is created for a one-year term, commencing on July 1st, 2020 and ending on July 30th, 2021. The contract provides an annual salary of $187,101, a monthly travel allowance of $200, a master's degree stipend of $1,101, a longevity stipend of $9,588.93. Cell phone stipend and health benefits is provided for all management employees. No other changes or amendments will be made to the contract. I think that, Cindy, you're going to actually do a presentation on this later. So rather than actually voting on the contract now, we'll wait till the presentation, but I wanted to read that script now in case there's questions later. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Ms. O'Halloran, Ms. Fink, Ms. Masita, and myself are here. We are out without our student member today. Notice to public. Persons wishing to speak to agenda items may present their written request at this time. While the written request is optional, those making a written request will be recognized first. Persons wishing to introduce a subject not on the agenda may also present their request at this time. The board president will recognize you for the discussion at the appropriate time. Non-scheduled agenda items will be introduced under Section 9 on the agenda. Speakers may be limited to 5 minutes per topic at the discretion of the board president. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9324B, the district may tape, film, stream, or broadcast any open board meeting. The recording or broadcast may capture images or sounds of those attending the meeting. Any district recording may be erased or destroyed 30 days after the meeting. Recordings made at the direction of the board during the meeting are public records and upon request shall be made available for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. Now, since we are on Zoom and Facebook Live, I'm assuming that everyone is probably muted at this point, but if you are on Zoom and you have a question at the appropriate time, raise your hand on Zoom. And our manager will then take you off mute so you can ask, or you can type in written questions likewise on Facebook Live. We can do that. Who's going to monitor Facebook Live?
Cicely is monitoring Facebook Live remotely, and she'll text me.
Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So if anyone has their questions at the appropriate time, please use those electronic means to ask it. Okay, recognition of guests and presentations.
Not recognition of a guest presentation, but I did want to take a moment tonight to speak about Mr. Sean Taft. Sean, a longtime district teacher who very tragically died in an automobile accident on Tuesday. So Sean taught a whole bunch of different things. He was a history teacher, computer tech teacher, diversified occupation / work experience teacher, math, year of special education even. He was a stalwart of the Saturday school program. He had kids show up for community service, all kinds of places, all the time. Kids loved Sean. He had a way with them that made them comfortable and happy and safe. And looking at some of the comments online coming from former students of his, a number of them saying what an influence he had on them in terms of how they viewed life or what they're doing themselves now, all those different kinds of things. So in his role as a teacher and a man working with kids at the school site, he had a really great influence on a lot of people, including his colleagues in the history department, in particular in recent years. I also want to talk about Sean as a union leader and really as a leader in the district. We went through many difficult years during the Great Recession, and the relationship between the Teachers Association and the district management, and the governing board was very strained. And we started with 2 previous presidents on the right path towards a better relationship. And then Sean became president of the Teachers Association. And he left that job at the end of last year and was going to take a back seat in union business. And in short order, he became the chair of their negotiations team. So he was as present in union work this year as he had been in any of the recent years. Sean was just one of the 1 or 2 most key figures in building the relationship that we currently have with the leadership of the Teachers Association. He saw the big picture. He was incredibly honest and ethical in his work with us. And sometimes people question unions and why are they there and what are they doing for people? And there's a myriad of answers to that. One of them is to improve things for everybody in the organization that the union is connected to. And in our case, that starts with students and staff and parents. And Sean was a person who made this district better for all of us through his leadership in DTA and his willingness to do the right thing. So with kids in his classroom, Sean did the right thing, and in his role as a leader in the district, including DTA, he did the right thing. And for Sean personally, his wife Carolyn, who was a longtime teacher in the district, and his 5 kids, all of whom went to school in the district, he would joke about his wife and his family. And underneath all that joking was a sincere love and devotion and commitment to them. And so we really think of them tonight with the loss that they are experiencing, and wish them some peace and comfort. Sean had been talking about retiring for several years, and every year that would get pushed back another year or 2. And the reason why was he was having fun. He enjoyed what he was doing. He was, he was still all in. And, seeing him frequently through the union business, and including just last week, a couple times on Zoom, he was the same smart alecky, smiling, laughing, helpful character. In the last conversation we had from the first, for me, all the way back in 1998. So on behalf of all of us, we recognize Sean tonight. We ask, like I say, for that peace and comfort for his family and his friends. And we'll just pause for a moment and then in recognition of Sean. And then thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and our sympathies to his family. It's interesting, Sean, getting towards that, probably maybe going to retire. Yet when I come in for subcommittees, he was often one of the people on those committees. So not only did he, tirelessly teach, and not only did he help the members of the DTA, he was always there to help us have the right direction for students as well. So, okay, do we have any correspondence?
No.
All right, consent agenda. Do we have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would like to pull the purchase orders, item F, just for a question or two off that. Do we have any public comments on the consent agenda? Now would be the time to raise your electronic hand. Seeing none. Do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda less?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. And on item F now, items pulled from consent agenda. I just wanted to ask, looking at that, it had on it the fifth grade camp busing charges. And obviously, sadly, fifth grade camp is not going to happen this year. So I wanted to ask.
Yes, so all of the agreements for fifth grade camp, both with Shady Creek and with Michael Transportation, have been terminated because camp's not being held. So that PO went in probably back in the early part of March at the latest. It in fact, the PO will be canceled and no compensation will be made there.
Okay, so the funds haven't actually been paid yet, not to be reversed, it just won't be paid.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Do we need to take action to approve that portion of the consent agenda since that item?
You do,
So,
yes, you do.
okay, do we have a motion to approve item F of the consent agenda?
I move that we approve item F on the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion is approved. Okay. Public comment. Persons wishing to introduce a topic within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district and not on the agenda may do so at this time. By law, subjects not on the agenda cannot be acted upon by the board, except to briefly respond, clarify, or refer to staff for review and presentation at a future meeting. Comments may be limited to 5 minutes per person to a maximum of 25 minutes per topic, unless extended by the board president. Comments are to be directed exclusively to the governing board, and the board president shall determine who, if anyone, may respond to the comments or questions of the speaker. Okay, Mr. Dolan, extension school closure period. Do we have any public comments before we go there? Seeing none. Anything on Facebook Live?
No.
Seeing none. Okay. Information, discussion, and action. Extension of school closure.
All right, so I placed this item on the agenda. At our last meeting, the governing board had approved the extension, our initial extension through whatever that was, April 17th, I believe it was. And since then, through the dialogue that's been happening amongst the districts and with the Solano County Office of Education, we had reached a consensus to extend the closure period through May 1st. So this item tonight was to ask the governing board just to formally approve that extension through May 1st. And based on information that has been evolving over the last several days, but in particular today became very clear, I'm going to recommend to the board that you actually take action tonight to formally approve the closure of schools through the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. And the basis for this recommendation is that today in his news conference, Governor Newsom was asked a question regarding his intention to close the schools. And he stated, yes, the kids are not going back into their classrooms. They, however, are going to have a lot of work to do at home and will continue to educate our kids through distance learning. I can't be more clear about this. The superintendent of public instruction can't be more clear about this. So we've been waiting for something this definitive, quite honestly, to come out of Sacramento. There have been very strong indications this was where we were going to go. The governor made references to the modeling for the number of people who are expected to become ill over this period. And in a conference call with my fellow superintendents in the county yesterday, and email correspondence today, we are in agreement and are requesting you tonight. We're the only district that has a board meeting tonight to actually formally approve the closure through the remainder of this school year. Regrettably.
Okay, do we have any board questions on this?
So what you're saying is that all the districts in Solano County have made the commitment to do the same thing. It's just that our board meeting comes before theirs.
So,
Can I ask if you repeat that?
yes. So, yes, the question was, I mentioned that all of the districts in Solano County have made the determination to do this. Our board meeting happens first. So I know in both Benicia and Travis, Benicia announced today without board action. Travis is announcing tomorrow without board action. I imagine the others will be announcing tomorrow as well without board action. It was just the timing for us that we happen to have a meeting tonight, and this news developed today. So we were able to take the action formally more convenient.
I just wanted to acknowledge how difficult it is for all of our teachers and staff and parents who are dealing with this, and that this was something nobody expected or wanted to happen. But that it is the safest thing for our community, and it's the safest thing for everybody who's involved with this. It's the best decision on behalf of all of our kids and on behalf of our community. And with that, I'd like to make the motion to formally approve the closure of the district through the end of the school year.
And I said,
I think it should ask. Do we have any public comment on this item before hearing the motion? Give them a second, just in case. See anything on Facebook Live?
No.
Okay, so we have a motion by Catlin and a second by Jewel. And this is an action item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion passes. Okay, report on COVID-19 and district operations.
Okay, so we're going to do this every time that we get together and provide you with the update as of the meeting day. I'm going to turn this over really quickly to my cabinet team and Adrian Lauder to provide you with the information. I'd just like to thank them. All the staff out there who are working deserve our thanks and recognition right now. The cabinet team and our coordinators are spending a huge amount of time and energy working on something more difficult than any of us have ever worked on before. And so we applaud everyone across the district for what they're doing right now. And I just wanted, for those who are working most closely with me, to recognize them for the good stuff that they're doing at this time. So I'm going to begin by inviting Mr. Giramonte into the conversation. He is with us via Zoom, as will be Ms. Duval and Ms. Lauder as well. So Mr. Giramonte, take it away via Zoom.
Good evening, everybody. You hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So I will give an Ed Services update for the board and the community. So teacher teams are back and collaborating as of our, once the MOU got processed last week. Want to thank them for their earnestness in doing that. We're getting a lot of really positive feedback from them and from our principals as well. So rolling out some initial curriculum this week really has a chance to reach out and reconnect with our families. with the idea that once we come back from spring break, week after next, we'll really have a lot of good activities and lessons for our kids to engage in. I want to give an update on our specialized content areas and what they're working on as well. So I want to just talk briefly about ELD, and first off, give a shout out to Treva Foster and Maria Lukine especially, but also our EL leads at our school sites for all the hard work they're doing on this. And K through 5, our ELD coach and leads are creating lessons that are consistent with our existing model. Students are going to be able to process 2 ELD lessons per week at their grade and ability level using our EL Achieve curriculum. The EL team is also in the process of creating a website to store all these lessons so that we can use them in the future to make it more accessible, like if kids leave. So we're kind of taking this as an opportunity to build some digital resources that kids and families can use. And 6 through 12, our ELD teachers there are supporting their kids' language needs in the mainstream content areas, particularly our newcomers. So the ELD teachers are going to be reaching out to students, making every effort to connect with them and make sure that they have the tools to be successful across all of the different content areas. Our elementary RTI program, RTI teachers are going to provide intervention services to small groups of students, and they're going to deliver 3 15-minute lessons per week using a platform of their choosing. We assume most will use Google Classroom or ClassDojo. Want to add this, that students spending time in intervention, this would be in addition to the time spent in with their general education work. Idea here is not to overwhelm them, but we really feel like these are our struggling readers. We really got to make sure that they have what they need to be successful even in this difficult time. Our teacher training has really focused right now on making sure everybody's up to speed with regard to the digital platforms that we have. This is challenging work for some of our folks, and even folks who are pretty familiar with some of these platforms, to really use them to their full extent. There's tons of learning that they can do. I want to thank Treva, Scott, and Jake for working on this. And one of the pieces here too is we're really trying to reduce anxiety with our teachers. Some folks are really comfortable in the digital environment, others not so much. So, I think Brian's email earlier this week to our community really hopefully knocked down some of the anxiety, but we know that we're going to have to work through that as we roll through this. We are frequently meeting with all of our principals to support them in their leadership, and really want to commend them for their hard work thus far and sort of learning how to lead in a new space. Want to talk quickly about equity. It remains a huge concern for us. As we're pushing out curriculum, we're asking sites to keep it on who is accessing this, and most importantly, which kids are not accessing it, and then reaching out to those kids so they can begin targeted outreach. And also in the lens of equity, making sure that when we're designing learning activities that we've got everybody in mind, from our high flyers, our English learners, our students with disabilities, everybody. They all deserve to have content delivered to them that's meaningful and relevant to their level. Equity prompts our next conversation, and this will probably be the most substantive that we have this evening for my section. I'm sure other people have lots of great stuff for you as well. So we need to have a discussion around, one, how we plan to issue grades at the secondary level, especially at the high schools, and 2, whether or not there should be a loosening of the graduation credits for this spring. So I'd like to address these as separate issues, even though they're obviously very linked. The grades issue first. So if you've been paying attention or not, CDE, California Department of Education, did issue some guidance yesterday, reminding districts that they really have a lot of latitude in this area when it comes to grading. They also reminded us of the governor's charge to, quote, do no harm in this unprecedented situation. Moreover, both the UC and CSU systems issued guidance this week that states that schools that choose to issue pass, no pass grades or other types of grades, that students will not be punished for this. That includes all current high school students in subsequent admission cycles. So obviously that applies to our kids entering college in the fall of next year. But say a sophomore, for example, whose school decides to do pass, no pass, it's not going to be used against them later on. So that's the UCs and CSUs have come out really clearly on that. Independent colleges and universities have not been as firm in that, but are saying the same thing while honoring the fact that they have independent colleges and universities. But schools like Harvard, et cetera, have already taken a similar stance to UC, CSU. So what should we do is really the kind of the question of the day. I want to say this, that there's no consensus in Solano County yet. Some districts appear to be committed to maintaining the traditional grading systems, while others are leaning towards a pass, no pass system. We talked to Dixon High School and Maine Prairie leaders today, and they've been talking with their teacher leaders. And at this point, they believe the pass, no pass system is the best way to go. Brian and I, as well as other staff on our team, have discussed, and we're frankly in agreement on that at this point. So what would be the benefits to doing a pass, no pass? In our minds, this is the most reliable approach. It will be very, very challenging for us to stand by any letter grade, be it an A or an F or anything in between. It's going to be a lot easier for us and for individual teachers, frankly, to draw sort of a very clear line of this is what it takes to be able to pass this class and move forward from there. From an equity perspective, it's a much easier approach as well. For some of our students who are being pulled in a lot of different directions right now with family obligations, the ability to access schoolwork, either through technology or frankly through learning disabilities or other places. And frankly, a lot of kids are just under a lot of stress right now. And this could hopefully reduce some of that. Finally, we think it'll be easier for our teachers. Instead of having to make those kind of fine calls, what's an A, what's a B, what's a C, and defend that if it gets challenged, it's much easier to define a kind of a clear pass line and then support students in getting to that clear pass line. Pitfalls. We're going to have to reteach our kids, our families, and the rest of our community about a new system. Everybody knows A, B, C, D, E, F, sorry, A, B, C, D, F, no E yet. And we had to tell people why we're doing this and sort of do some education around that. There are going to be questions, rightly, I'd have the same questions as a parent about long-term implications for college admissions. We're going to address these in our initial communication and then ongoing. It helps us that districts like Palo Alto Unified, a district that's known for sending kids to some pretty prestigious universities and a lot of Stanford affiliated folks send their kids there. This is the route that they've gone. CDE quotes them, and so that to have districts like that sort of going to pass no pass, I think helps us with parents who might have some anxiety around it. And then finally, it may appear to some that we're lowering our expectations for students. We don't see it that way, but we'll have to kind of communicate around that. I can start on the graduation requirements piece now, or I can take board questions. I'll take direction from you guys.
I think let's ask for questions first from us and the public. I think I've been messaged that the Facebook Live, they're not hearing you off and on, and I don't think they can hear Zoom at all. So I'm not sure placing it over there the way we did is any better. So let's try to just give a nutshell of what we were just told by Mr. Giamonti.
Focus on kind of the higher priority when we're going to do these. So we did kick off teacher activity with their students this week. In some instances, that's been really successful and easy. And in others, there are still challenges that remain. Teachers are going to be supported and encouraged as this continues to move forward. And following the spring break week, in particular, we will see expectations ramp up.
Brian, I'm sorry, no one can hear you. Shall we try moving that computer back over by where Mark is? And hope it's better. That's a good question. The microphone's not off. Okay.
Let me try.
I don't know. Does it say how many people are watching on Facebook Live? If everyone's on Zoom, maybe we don't need to worry about it.
They can't hear.
I asked my wife to check because this was a problem last time.
Right, is she on Facebook or on Zoom?
She's on both. Yeah, she was on Zoom before and she checked Facebook and said, are there messages? Okay.
17 on Facebook. And
are there any typed messages there? They can't hear.
24 on
No, I think one of the issues last time was when it wasn't correctly.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
it was kind of turned sideways
So maybe if you.
So let's do a sound check for Facebook Live. Sound check.
Zoom says it's fine.
So it's fine on Zoom. Facebook Live, sound check. Get a text to Mr. Foster, please. If you're able to hear me from this location. Better. Okay.
So, okay.
All right. So the start of what I was saying there with regards to what Mr. Giramonti reported was we commenced our online distance learning with our students this week. In some places that is off to a rolling start, and in other places we continue to have to address the learning curve and implementation and making sure that all families are connected. Staff out there is working very hard. Many of them are collaborating with each other around the issues of the distance learning program. Frequent meetings are happening amongst principal groups with cabinet level, district level administrators, both in planning, implementing, and monitoring the distance learning program. And that work will all be continuing, especially following the spring break. Bigger question that Mr. Giramonti posed was with regards, in particular, for Dixon High School and Main Prairie with grading criteria. And there are several different schools of thought here, and we're having conversation with the other districts in the county. The idea of continuing letter grades, the A through F system that we are all familiar with, or going to a pass, no pass, or credit, no credit model is also being widely discussed. The conversations that we have had internally in the district at this point in time lead us very strongly toward the direction of having the pass, no pass, or credit, no credit model. The public universities, many of the privates, although not all yet, have said not only will our current seniors be held harmless in terms of passing or just credit grades as opposed to letter grades, but the subsequent grade levels who would show these marks on their transcripts would also be protected from any kind of consequence from those grades. So what we're looking for from tonight was some input, both community and from the board, on what direction they would like to see us take so that we could prepare a proposal to bring back for the board's approval, hopefully on April 16th.
Thank you, Brian, for my summary. Any board questions or comments on the grade issue or anything else covered? Mr. Giramonti.
My only thought, just knowing maybe someone who might be in my house, is that last effort is going to be made with this pass no pass situation. And I know that we might not be able to, but I know some kids who work pretty hard to keep up their A's. And my one worry is, well, maybe I don't have to do that assignment if it's a pass, not pass situation. That's my worry. And for the students who have parents at home pushing them, that might not be a worry, but there are students who really care about their grades and who work really hard. So and we're talking about teenagers here. That's just my only worry for the secondary is, and then with that, if that is the case, that less effort is made, then that means that less learning is going to be happening.
I will say to that, that's a good point. I didn't interrupt anyone, did I?
No.
No.
We're good.
No. Yeah, and that's, I don't know that we'll have a good answer for that, frankly. I know that a lot of other districts that are going to hold grades are still not going to allow kids to drop below the grade that they left with, which in the end kind of keeps the same problem if you think of it that way. I think what it does allow us to do is sort of try to really repurpose with our kids and our families and our teachers. Look, this becomes about the learning. What's the most essential things that we need you to understand and do so that when you go to the next level, you've got those things. Inevitably, I hate to say it, that you're right. I worked at a high school for a long time, obviously. We'll have some kids that will not engage like we want them to.
Has there been any discussion, two things, one of whether or not it can be a selective, a decision by the student, whether they go pass, no pass, or stay for their grade? And two, any thoughts about anything we could do to help motivate to continue to push even if we go pass?
You want to take that one, Brian, or?
Yeah, I'll take it first, Nick, and then if you want to add on. So the first question is about differentiating and allowing a student to choose to go with the traditional letter grade option or pass, no pass, and if we've had any discussion around that question. We have not had discussion around that question, and frankly, I think any kind of two-tiered system to the grades, to the awarding of credit would be problematic. And so I think our consensus from the administrative staff would be not to go in that direction. It would just lead to a great number of inconsistencies, I think. Second question about how to work to motivate students not to do what Melissa was saying about just absolutely going to cruise control. In some ways, that's the age-old question about school, whether we are doing distance learning or regular. Nick's point that some districts who are going to keep the A through F grade model are also saying hold harmless. So that if a student didn't do work to the same degree they had before, let's say a student had a B+ prior to the closure, and in essence, they wouldn't have to do anything and could still hang on to their B+ according to those ideas they have right now, that maybe you end up in the same place of having students choose not to apply themselves. I think this is absolutely uncharted territory for us, and not just here in Dixon. So the ideas of how to motivate and engage kids are one that we're going to be struggling with as we now know all the way through the end of May, early June. And that's going to be a continuing topic of discussion with the staff as we roll through this. So I think that addressed the two questions. Also picked up a couple of Facebook questions that are related. How would GPA be calculated? So will a pass grade basically equate to an A? And GPA will be calculated in a totally different way. With a pass, no pass, typically, so if everything were pass, no pass, and Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think we actually would not issue a grade point average. It does not make sense because, you know, in the grade point calculation now, an A is equal to 4 points, a B is equal to 3 points, and on down until an F is 0. And so we're actually wouldn't be attaching that numerical value. And in essence, the colleges are saying they can live without that numerical value. They're obviously going to have to modify their admissions practices. There are interesting questions about eligibility for athletics and other extracurricular programs, work permits that are tied into the grade point average. And those conversations about what would happen there are going to be ongoing.
So just in case, since we've gone in and out, some people did not hear, we are not deciding this tonight. This is just a discussion item. And also the California Department of Education has suggested or recommended this pass, no pass system, right? Or that they just said it's open as a possible.
Yes.
Local choice. So to just clarify what you said about no grade point average. As a student's applying for college, if they had 1 year where they were all credit, no credit, pass, no pass, and they had grades for the other years, would the grade point average still be done for the other years, and those credit, no credits would just be as if those classes didn't exist in the scheme of high school?
I think we don't know exactly what they would do, but I think overall the idea of a grade point average during this transition time would become far less significant, if not eliminated entirely. I think what they would be looking at would be courses taken. The SAT is not going to be required next year in public colleges in California, and perhaps greater than that. I haven't had a chance to follow that particular development. So I think the best thing that I can say tonight, and Nick can add on to it if needed, is that the significance and relevance of the grade point average is going to be significantly decreased, perhaps eliminated here for a couple of years.
Well, I mean, again, I think it's important to remember that it's one semester, and that and how UCCSU will calculate that grade point average. It's actually in their guidance, and forgive me, I don't have it up in front of me right now. The message coming from them is, look, if you go pass, no pass, we're not going to penalize kids. I also think as an admissions officer, if I were getting grades in from a school right now, or from this time period, I'd have some real questions about the validity of them, frankly, and probably almost chalk these up as boy, we were in a weird time then. What they want to see is the A through G. I mean, the A through G is not changing. All that piece is still there. But yeah, and also a lot of them are going pass, no pass. So.
Yeah. And let me summarize that. Yeah, let me summarize that and hopefully be able to make sure everybody hears it. Okay, and I just got a text that Facebook folks cannot hear anything off of Zoom. So join Zoom. If you look at our agenda, there is the way to get on Zoom and hear everything directly. So please consider doing that for us and yourself, more convenient. The point Mr. Giramani made was, really, and we hope this is true, we're only talking about one semester's worth of grades here that are in question. Heaven help us if this extends beyond this particular semester of a high school student's experience. But the point he made was that if he is an admissions officer at a college and he is seeing grades come in from this particular point in time, he's not going to place a lot of value in those grades based on what is happening with regards to instruction.
Well, and it's interesting too, when you're at the beginning of the semester, it's only a certain number of assignments in, the grades are never really very indicative of what you're going to end up at the end of the semester. So yeah, there's a lot of questions. Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Since we're having sort of discussion around this, I just wanted to just make a couple of observations. One, I don't like the idea of this sort of bifurcated system where we have some people getting grades and will not. I think we need to just choose one path, move down it. We have a whole lot on our plates, and I think we just need to really keep it simple. So sort of one thought. The other is that really our kids are learning a whole lot right now, and sort of they're learning how to be adaptable and resilient, and they're learning new technology. Today I do webinars at work, and other people do them for me. I just sort of talk into a microphone, and then boom, they happen, and it's kind of magic. And I spent 4 hours today learning how to do my own because there's no office that I'm in today, and so I'm learning how to do it myself. And that's a whole lot of learning, right? And I know our kids are doing that same kind of learning. And so even if it's not the subject that they're traditionally learning on, they're doing a whole lot of learning. And so I think pass-fail is a more accurate representation of sort of what's going on here, because they're learning a lot more about a lot of things in their classwork than just geography or history or social science or whatever it is that we're asking them to learn. So just a thought around that. I think we're all in uncharted waters, and if we take a pass-fail approach to this semester, I think that's a win for all of us. So I'd encourage us to look at that as we come back for action on it.
Yeah, thanks. And a question came in via Facebook. Has the district defined the criteria for pass or no pass? And we have not yet done that. We are engaged in those conversations at the teacher level, at the administrative level, and I think coming back to the board asking for adoption of that pass, no pass criteria there would be some definition of what would lead to a no pass or a passing mark.
Any other questions or comments?
You know, my only other thing that to think about is I'm just wondering, you know, we're facing a lot of this on maybe UCs and CSUs, but we do have a good chunk of students who also go out of state. And so I think as long as out of state follows California, then it's no problem. But if they are not going to follow California, which many of them don't, like for example, in California, you get a weighted grade for AP classes. If you go out of state, you don't get a weighted grade for AP classes. They take your grade and don't, you know, they don't do the weight. So that's my other concern is for their students who decide to go to school out of state. We do have a chunk of them that we need to maybe think about too. To not, I just don't want any of this to hurt our students in the, you know, moving forward. And I hope that everyone, you know, is flexible in the whole nation, but
the letter that came in today was from the independent colleges as well. It was the UCs, the CSUs, the independent colleges. So it's not everybody, but it is a pretty broad group. So, you know, I think there's vast recognition that we're all in the same boat.
But, you know, getting back to what Nick was talking about, unless I'm mistaken, your GPA is based on, you're probably already going to be accepted to somewhere in the spring before your second semester grade comes out anyway.
Yeah.
So it's your first half of your first semester of your senior year, you have those grades. So that will be, if you have to have a GPA, it can be determined by those grades. So I think let's just talk about now, what we're going to do now, and worry about GPAs and all that another time.
Good point. Any other public or any other board questions or comments? Any other public questions or comments on this grading issue?
One that just came in via Facebook is ARIES still going to be used for student grades. That's a matter of discussion that we're currently engaged in. We have to have a vehicle to be able to communicate progress with students and parents. Exactly what that will look like in the new model has to be figured out, but yes, there has to be a means for communicating grades, progress. We're not talking about grades anymore. Progress, and ARIES or ABI is the only vehicle that we currently have.
Yeah, certainly if we decide to go pass no pass and we come up with what will be the requirement to get a pass, parents need to be able to monitor that online and make sure that their kid is putting in the effort, as Melissa pointed out. So, any other public questions or comments? Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, let's move on. Nick, to the graduation credits. You there, Nick?
Oh, sorry, I was muted myself.
No problem.
I can go right back to that, by the way. All right, so this is a little more complicated, and I think ironically will be a shorter presentation because there's less to offer right now. I want to say first that CDE reminded us in their guidance that the state requirements are really sort of a floor with regard to graduation requirements, and that most districts have adopted far more strenuous expectations for their grads, and Dixon is no exception. Our graduation requirements are defined in our board policy, and so we need to address, if we make a change to those, we need to address those there. A lot of districts, including local ones, are looking to reduce their credit requirement for graduation, which we are absolutely allowed to do even in the middle of a semester like we're in. I'm thinking it's likely as some version of that is what we will do in Dixon. That we would, right now, for example, both Main Prairie High School and Dixon High School, it's 220 credits. And then within that 220 credits, there's all sorts of requirements. You have to have 4 years of English, for example, et cetera, that we would reduce that 220 requirement for our students. That seems to be the direction that most folks are going in our county. We need to do more research on this, if I'm being frank. You know, the county right now is sort of compiling a list of everything that people are doing to sort of try to come up with something that's consistent. You know, when we talked to Fairfield yesterday, they were looking at dropping to 180 for their comprehensive high school and 130 or 35 for their alternative ed high school. And that's the most, I don't want to use the word extreme, but that's the most, I think, aggressive approach we've heard. You know, as of yesterday, Vacaville was talking about going to 200. So we just need to figure out what we want to do based on sort of the data that's in front of us. One big concern here is we don't want to minimize the value of our diplomas. At the same time, we pull a lot of kids across the line this time of year that we're grinding with. And we just frankly don't have that opportunity to get in front of them and provide those resources that we're typically providing. Our credit recovery programs are up and running. You know, we got those going quickly. That's at both high schools, so those kids are engaged in that. But we just want to not be in a position where we're not graduating a bunch of kids who, through no fault of their own, found themselves in the middle of a pandemic their senior year. All the conversations we've had is that this would be a limited 1-year reduction with potentially some board policy language that may allow our principals a little bit of flexibility in the out years to be able to waive a requirement here or there based on, you know, if kids were short because of this. We anticipate that would be a very limited number of kids, but we may want to consider having that flexibility. But the most important thing I want to emphasize there is this is a 1-year, if we make a recommendation, to be for 1 year only.
Could you summarize?
Yep, so quick summary. Mr. Giamatti was discussing the number of credits required for graduation. And given our current circumstances, that for this year only, we are going to need to consider making an alteration to that number. Currently, the graduation requirement in Dixon Unified is 220 credits. And across the state, there are discussions going on about almost everybody reducing the number of credits that would be required, and varying degrees of that, anywhere from 20 to perhaps even 40, perhaps as high as 50. Some discussion around whether you maintain the core course requirements, English, math, science, those types of things, and reduce some of the elective requirements. But those are things that are still very much in development. We're not aware at this point in time of anybody who has finalized their graduation requirement conversations, and we are engaged with other districts on this matter. This will take more work before it comes back to the board.
So I do have a question. So based on this, if we did reduce any of our credit requirements, a senior who already has met, I mean, minus their English, math, because many students, if they've taken a full load, have already met their credit requirements. They're still working on their English and the history. Does that mean that they would be done for the rest of the year?
So it's an interesting question, and I'll say it out loud just in case didn't hear. So we have actually a very significant number of seniors who have met all their graduation requirements, with the exception of the spring semester of English and the spring semester of government or economics. And if we were to reduce the number of credits required or courses required, might some students be done with school basically as soon as that decision was made? It's a good question. We don't have the answer to it at this point in time, but I think it's a worthy part of the conversation coming ahead. And for myself, I could not foresee eliminating English or that social science senior requirement as part of any shift in requirements. However, it might be that a student in that situation is only responsible for those 2 classes, potentially. Yes.
I have a question, if you can repeat it.
You can.
Why would you reduce credit requirements?
Why would you reduce credit requirements if you're still providing pass, no pass? for a large variety of reasons, and most of them, excuse me, most of them driven by concerns about equity. Some of our students right now in their homes, they do not have Wi-Fi access. Mr. Monticello is going to explain some efforts he's making along those lines to provide access in just a little bit. Some of our students have one computer that they're sharing with other family members. Some of our students are enrolled in many hands-on classes in which the dynamic that they're going to deal with over the next couple of months is radically different from what they were doing. Some of our students are English learners or students with disabilities who rely on support that is significantly available during the regular program, less significantly available during this distance learning program. So there's a variety of factors that contribute, we believe, to our students' ability to successfully complete the courses that they're currently enrolled in. And we're going to have the conversations around these issues for sure, not proposing any solutions to this one tonight.
Any other public questions or comments on this issue of graduation credits? And again, this is not an action item, it's just for discussion.
And one last note on a question that came in, and I've included this in at least 2 of the frequently asked questions that are going out on Facebook and on our website. One of those went out today about graduation ceremonies. We all want to hold graduation ceremonies. We don't know what we're going to be able to do at this time. I made a reminder that those are 2 months away right now, and hopefully we will be able to hold them on time. If we can't hold them on time, we would look to hold them at a later date than currently scheduled. We want to have those celebrations.
Of course.
Can those frequently asked questions be put in the newspaper?
Sure. Yeah, we've given them some things, but we will add them to our distribution list.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other public questions or comments? None, Mark? Okay, seeing none. Let's go ahead, Nick.
Nick, are you done?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you. So going to have Kim Parrott, our Director of Special Education, speak to us now. Kim, if you'll come on over and sit in that one.
Okay, it's been a very busy week for all of us. In special education this week, I have had meetings, obviously online, with the entire special education department in the district, as well as Tremont Elementary School, which is where our elementary intensive learning center classes are housed. It's one of our largest site for special needs students on the elementary level. Also met with all the elementary staff and the middle school, high school staff, and individually with the speech staff, our occupational therapists, and our behaviorists. Our school psychologists are working very closely with Adrienne Louder and the mental health team on the social emotional learning and support of our students. We have an emergency services letter that is going out to all the parents of any of our students that have IEPs. Based upon the various meetings I've had over the last 2 days, it seems to be about 75 to 80% of the letters are either in the mail or have been emailed. If your email is in your child's special education record or in Aries, we utilize the email to send you that letter. So please check your email if you have not checked it. If you did not receive an email, that will be mailed to you at the home. That letter basically shares with you, reminds you of what services your child has, and then over to the right of that service tells you all the many different ways that we may go about servicing your child. The case managers, as they have been calling their students and talking to parents and letting them know the letter is coming, have also been taking a survey. Do you have access to the internet? Do you have a printer? What's the situation with the computers? We've been able to reach out to several families and remind them that we are distributing computers here at set times. And some of our families that weren't aware of that have taken advantage of that this week. By knowing what our students have access to, it's going to help our service providers know which ones of the many different ways that they can use to try to support your child's needs during this time through distance learning. We are also making sure that the parents are aware that all of our students in the K-8 level have what's called a MobyMax account. That account has reading, spelling, and math intervention lessons. We'll want to make sure that parents are aware of that because that is something that your child can sign on to at home and do an intervention piece and build their skills. If your child is at the high school level, they will have an Edgenuity account number and sign in. And the high school teachers are still in the process of calling, but your high schoolers or others should know that Edgenuity number, but if they not, their case manager will make sure that they have that. That also has reading and math interventions on it. I've been receiving emails and some messages from parents wanting to know about IEPs. If you had an IEP scheduled within the last few weeks that we've been closed, we will be getting those rescheduled after we come back from spring break. If you have an IEP that you are aware of that was scheduled from the end of spring break, so the 13th forward, your IEP is still going to happen at the date that it was set. The time may adjust because we're going to have some other meetings we've got to schedule and that we've missed, but that will still be your date. If you are not sure whether you have a date yet, don't worry, your case manager is going to be getting in touch with you and sending reminders if those dates are coming up. Our IEP meetings are being held virtually, either by Zoom or by something called Google Meet, which is hooked in to your Gmail, the child's Gmail account, or to Gmail Online. And there are links and you would be sent to you and you can click on it and you're there with us. We did have a very interesting meeting today, actually, where the parent used their iPhone and clicked on the link and they participated in the meeting on their iPhone from work, actually. So just know that you don't have to have a laptop. Either of these links can also be clicked and used with your iDevice, your Droid, whatever type of smartphone that you have. For the triennial reviews, that's a 3-year review where your child is assessed. If they had one of those coming up, we have no access to your child to assess. Therefore, those meetings are going to have to be done in 2 parts. We'll have a meeting talking about their progress so far this year on their goals, and we'll talk about what we want to assess and look at in the fall. Some children, we're getting ready to have their meetings and their testing is done, and that will be presented and their triennial review will be finished. If your child, if you refer them for an initial evaluation by special education, unless those assessments were completed prior to our closure, we will be unable to get those finished until we have the children physically back at school. Since your child technically is on the special education rolls, please know that we're still going to reach out to you. We want you to know who's handling your child's case and let you know that we've not forgotten about the initial review and we will finish that as soon as your child is back. I've also received several phone calls from preschool parents that are concerned about their children that are transitioning from preschool to kindergarten. Generally, we do some updated assessments as well as using the data from the classroom to make a good recommendation for the transition of that child. We obviously are not going to be able to do formal assessment, but we'll be using all the data that we have collected in working with your child within our preschool program this year and make the best recommendation that we can for placement as a team when we meet at the IEP. Please know that we can also continue with assessment early in the fall and discuss what all of our options are. But please know that we will be making recommendations for kindergarten based upon the information that we have at this time. We are still working out the signature page part. We will need your signature once we do have an IEP. So we will go over that with you when we have the meeting, how we're going to go about getting your signature on the signature page. My staff has been participating in Google Classroom trainings this week, you will see that your resource specialist or your intensive learning center teacher will be setting up intensive classrooms of their own as well as office hours so that they can consult and support you as you work with your child. Our speech and occupational therapy teams are discussing possibly making little 10-minute videos that we will post on our website at a later date that anyone, not just a special education parent, but anyone can access if they would like to work and support their child in a certain area. They also obviously will be providing the individual support for your child, but we are hoping to do those videos, but they need, as they share with me today, we need someone to show us how to make the videos and load them. So it's a huge learning curve, but we will get it done. Instruction, when the instruction begins or when it becomes more in earnest when we come back to spring break, please note the case managers are available and are working with your child's teacher as far as any needed accommodations and modifications. The paraprofessionals have some online trainings that are going to be made available to them on trauma-informed resilient schools, autism modules, behavior technician training, and even some Google Classroom training for them, because we would like to look at how we could help them with tutoring and supporting our students during this time. The behaviorists are going to also be contacting you if that is a service that your child was receiving, and will be consulting with you and trying to help you at this time as you work with your child at home. Our behaviorists are also going to be doing some training with staff. It's called CPI training, which is crisis intervention training. And so that will be being done for our paraprofessionals and our teachers. Our preschool has created 7 activity modules which are up on the district website for students. They also will be providing for our preschool students that have specialized academic instruction. There will be some work boxes that will go home with some activities that you can work on with your child at home. They are also working on doing a virtual circle time where they will sing songs with your child that your child is familiar with and have a story time. It's going to be ever evolving. We are going to be meeting as a special ed team each week and checking in as we learn and grow from each other, what's working, what's helping our kids. Please know that we are out there, and our main focus is to make sure that we support your child every way that we can.
Great, thank you, Kim. Do we have any board questions or comments for Kim? I don't know what we've done so far to look at the signature issue for parents that are doing electronic meetings, but of course, I'm sure Mark's aware there are websites like TrueSign that maybe we could work into.
Google also has a virtual signature.
Yeah.
A couple of things. We're just trying to explore what's going to be the most efficient and the easiest for our parents. We had said today when we were meeting in one of our meetings, someone said, I know for low tech, when someone does not have a computer, I'll walk up to the door, lay it down, put a rock on it, ring the bell, back up, let them get it, let them sign it, and take it up that way. We're going to do whatever we need to do to make sure our kids are picked up.
Thank you. Any public questions or comments for Kim? Okay, seeing none. What's next on that?
Next is Adrian Lauder, who is also zooming in. So I will do the repeat. Our remote folks, I will go full disclosure. I've asked them to keep it as brief as possible since we are doing this back and forth, and even understand that there's something of a delay between on Facebook Live. So we're all over the place. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, hi all, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, an update about how our supports for students are going to look through the next few months, weeks. Our clinicians, our mental health staff, which includes our clinicians, our behaviorists, our school psychs, and our interns, have already begun reaching out to families via phone, and if they can't contact by phone, email, to talk about what services are going to look like with the school closure. And so we are going to continue to provide services for our students, both counseling and behavioral student services for students. Staff has reached out to families. We're going to provide it via teletherapy, we will be using a platform similar to Zoom. We'll be using Zoom and DoxyMe. They've waived HIPAA laws around Zoom, so we're okay to use that, as well as there's another program called DoxyMe. Clinicians and psychs and behaviorists will schedule appointments with students and meet with them depending on their needs. It could be a weekly basis. It could be every other week. Today we talked about, there have been some families who've declined this service. On our end, it's confidential. We are not recording our sessions. We're not sharing that, but just anytime you let someone into your home, there might be a student may be in a session with a clinician, and there could be other family members in the room. So that's the piece where, we can't guarantee confidentiality. Really, we can guarantee it on our end, not on the other end. Most of our families have been really receptive. So we will continue to provide services for existing caseload, as well as take new referrals. So if, as a teacher or as a family member, if you have a student who's struggling, please reach out to your child's principal or myself, and we can get that student the support that they need. The second piece.
Adrian, I'm going to pause you for a minute so I can offer the brief summary of that.
Okay.
Everybody was able to hear that. So Adrian spoke to our school psychologists, our mental health clinicians, and our behavior specialists, and was reiterating that the students who those staff members were serving prior to the closure will continue to be served. Those staff members are reaching out to the families via telephone calls and or emails to try to make sure that the contacts are being made. The services will be able to be provided through online platforms. The confidentiality is maintained through those processes. Nothing is recorded. So if you have a student who was being supported by a school psychologist, a mental health clinician, or a behavior specialist, you will continue to see those services come in this new online format. And while I have the floor for a moment, question came in on Facebook about 504 plans. That is an area that we will continue to work with our school sites. The 504 plans really are implemented at the school-based level, primarily by classroom teachers. The protections of the 504 plan, which are based on the Americans with Disability Act, will have to be carefully reviewed to see how they apply in this distance learning model. Some of the provisions are very straightforward, such as additional time for assignments, things, preferential seating, things like that, which are easy to accommodate in this online platform, but other pieces of them will be more challenging. So the families of students with 504 plans will receive an additional specific contact related to the implementation of that plan. Back to you, Adrian.
Okay, so the other piece that we are working on is, we have kids I have two little ones. They're at home with my husband and I all day, every day. This is the only contact that they have except with family members via Zoom. We're taking this social distancing very seriously here in the Lauderhouse. So our staff is also going to be providing students K-5 with social emotional learning lessons each week. So each staff member has been assigned a particular grade level, and they will be posting. It might be a lesson using our second step cell curriculum. It may be a social story. We might be using Komochis around our social emotional learning standards. We will be posting a lesson each week for each grade level and push that out to classroom teachers. So all of our students will have access to that. It does not matter whether they have an IEP or if they're a general education student. K-5. We are exploring a curriculum to provide that same service for our secondary students as well. We have two of our psychs are really interested and doing this for 6-8 and 9-12. We've already been given the green light to push a second step out online. We're just waiting to find a program for our secondary students that we're able to do that.
All right, and briefly, Adrian and staff are working on the development of social emotional lessons, especially for grades 2 through 5, was it, Adrian, or K-5?
K-5.
K-5. So the initial focus is on the elementary age students. We are concerned that the longer they are at home and isolated and not able to engage in their usual activities, the more challenged they will become. So as part of the distance learning program, you will be able to look forward to these social emotional lessons that will be pushed out to all K through 5th graders, and then expanding upwards into supports and information for the upper grade levels.
Thank you. Anything else, Adrian?
Nope, that's it in a nutshell. You know, we'll send out messages via the Facebook page and website, resources for families during this time. And just please, you know, reach out to myself, your child's teacher or principal, if you need some supports or need us to direct you for some support. So thanks all, stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Adrian.
Great. Any board questions or comments? No? Any public questions or comments on this? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Adrian.
All right, Cindy Nguyen, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Good evening. I will make mine brief since a lot of it had already been sent out via email. I'd like to give a special shout out to our labor partners, DTA and SEIU, in working with us and coming up with the MOUs that was recently signed off. It was an absolute pleasure, and it really just showed me personally how committed our labor partners and our employees are to Dixon, given the situation and the motivation of ensuring that our students are continuing their education during this time. So thank you to both DTA and SEIU leadership. I also wanted to confirm now that there is a Dropbox installed outside the district office. That Dropbox is available for any department in our district office. And the public and employees are more than welcome to drop anything off, and it will be sorted every day and go to the appropriate department accordingly. The last thing I kind of wanted to just share was information has also been provided to employees in the district in regards to any support, any guidance, or any leave options should employees have a need for that. Tips on how to work remotely if that applies to them. So please know that Human Resources Department is here and available to provide support. Just feel free to reach out to us, and we are working, so we are available. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board questions or comments for Cindy? No? Any public questions or comments? Seeing none.
Hey, let's go, Sheldon.
Good evening. Tomorrow we have a computer checkout program. It's Friday, April 3rd from 2 to 4 here at the district office. To date, we have given out 834 computers. I'd like to thank Audrey, Susie, Kelly, Kathy, Sochi, Cindy, Keith, Alex, Gary, Nick for a little bit, and of course, Brian, who tends to hold up the line out front with helping all this. We've been monitoring the HomeLink help email for all of those kids that are sending in questions about issues on computers at home and fixing those. Today I spent a good portion of the day trying to find mobile Wi-Fi access for our students that need it out here with little to no luck. I did get an email from Wave, our vendor for internet out in this area, that they're planning on rolling out some inexpensive Wi-Fi for our low-income students, but they're just not quite there yet. And most of the MiFi or mobile Wi-Fi devices that are out there are constrained and not available. At the same time, the grounds crew has been busy the last couple of weeks trying to keep the grass cut and at a manageable length as long, and they are also spraying weeds, which tend to be popping up all over the place. And I'd like to thank Arturo, who's been working on cleaning the kitchens where we're serving food and part of the district office, along with keeping an eye on our campuses during the last couple of weeks.
Mark, I had a question. If people are coming to our schools to use our Wi-Fi, to bring the parking lots, use the Wi-Fi, do they need a passcode, or is it, if they have a district computer, does it just work?
The district computer will just work on our Wi-Fi network. If they are bringing their own device, they can connect to the guest network. And the password on the guest network is 9 through 0, the numbers backwards. So 987654320. Now that network is a little slower than our other network.
3210.
Okay. 987654320.
I saw the emails coming in already.
Yes.
Okay.
So they can go near any of our campuses, parking lots, and get connected to our Wi-Fi.
And the
Okay.
district computers will just
Connect right up.
Great.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Sorry.
Super.
Good catch.
Any other board questions? Any public questions or comments?
No, I'll touch on that one. Sorry, it's not related. I did get a message here. Yeah, we really encourage it. It's kind of a lousy solution, but just to go near any of the campuses, it doesn't have to be the school that a student attends. So if it was a high school student, but they live over by Gretchen Higgins, they could go to that Gretchen Higgins school area and get onto the network. It's better than nothing, but still a great inconvenience.
And of course, if that is what is needed, please try to continue the social distancing. Don't have a bunch of kids go sit right next to each other and do that for the kids' safety. And I don't know if this is quite the right time, but it seems like an okay time. I would just like to say, you know, as Catlin said, there's a lot of learning going on. It might be a little different than the learning we normally have, a lot of learning going on. And this is a very difficult time, not only for parents and students, but our teachers, you know, all of our employees. And I just wanted to say for you teachers who I know some of you are going to take this all on yourselves and you're going to be stressed out. And if things aren't going well, you don't think you're doing enough for your students, it's going to bother you. This is not all on your shoulders. Reach out for help. Reach out to your coworkers. Reach out to your principal. Reach out to the district office. If you need to, please reach out to the board. But don't just be stressed out. I mean, I know learning the tech for some of the teachers is going to be really difficult. And this environment is basically the equivalent of us tying a contractor's arm behind their back and saying, now go build that building. I mean, everyone's going to struggle. It's a work in progress. There are going to be days that are going to be horrible, and we're all in this boat together to try to help our kids. So don't take this on yourself. Okay. Anything else on this side?
One quick Facebook question. Is it that MiFis aren't available right now or there isn't funding? It's really not an issue of funding from the school district because MiFis typically are not funded via school districts. One of the fees that we pay when we have a cell phone is actually the funding source that defrays most of the expense, but the MiFis typically require a $10 or $15 monthly payment along with perhaps some connection costs as well. So it's the issue right now, as in so many things, is supply rather than cost. You may.
So somebody asked a question about our low socioeconomic students usually getting access to internet for low or no cost. And that is true. Unfortunately, Comcast is not in Dixon. Wave is working on a solution to that, but they don't have one yet. AT&T, when I spoke to them in the education section, were constrained on mobile Wi-Fi hotspots at this time. And then there are some of our other vendors who maybe have mobile Wi-Fi hotspots, but won't sell to the district because they only sell to one individual user, that being the family. So I cannot, as a district, go out and purchase from Boost Mobile 100 mobile hotspots because they need to sell those and set them up to each individual person.
Mark, does Boost Mobile have a low cost option like you were mentioning? And could you put families that are interested in that, could you give them the contacts so that they could contact Boost or whatever?
So they could contact Boost Mobile or Simple Talk, which is through Walmart, and deal with them directly. But there are some of our families out there that could not do that. And so we were looking for a little bit more simple global solution. But our low-end vendors don't offer that.
And presumably we will be continuing to try to find options.
Yes.
I heard on the news this morning
Sorry.
that Amazon is going to put out a bunch of hotspots for free.
I haven't heard Amazon. I have heard Google offering up some Chromebooks
Yeah.
and Wi-Fi hotspots.
Right.
I have no idea what area they're going to target.
Part of the state,
If they,
yeah.
if they blanket Palo Alto, what you do, but I mean, they don't need it there, but if they were looking at elsewhere, then yes, we could take a look. I have not seen anything in Dixon
So
yet.
we can't contact Google and say, you who?
Yeah.
We can try, probably everyone in the state is.
Yeah.
We can't contact them and say Yahoo, but we can say we're here, okay? Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank
Any
you.
other public questions on any of that?
Okay, I'll invite Monique Stovall, she's our Chief Business Official in via Zoom for some of her information, please.
Okay, good evening.
Hi, Monique.
Hi. I will first give an update on food services. We are still serving at 3 locations, Gretchen Higgins, CAJ, and Anderson. Today, we reached over 100 at Anderson for the first time. I believe it was about 141. CAJ is consistently over 100, and Gretchen Higgins is around 50. There has been a change in a positive change in how we can do service. USDA and the Department of Education has provided a waiver to districts to be able to provide meals to parents or guardians when children are not present. What we will do is we will ask whomever is coming to pick up those meals to confirm verbally to us that those meals are going to children 18 years or under. Brian, do you want to relay that?
Yep, real quickly, we continue to serve meals. You get a lunch for today and a breakfast for tomorrow at Anderson, Gretchen Higgins, and C.A. Jacobs, Monday through Friday from 11:30 to noon. The requirement that students, or that children, because this is from age 0 to 18, that children be present is no longer being enforced. We just will ask the question to verify that, yes, in fact, those meals are going home for children. So we encourage our community to please use this option. Yesterday we served, today I think was our peak, we served about 320 meals across the 3 sites. So we would hope that any family that is in need would come and take advantage of that program.
And Brian, just for those that couldn't hear the original, was that a change? That was a waiver of an FDA rule that we now no longer have to have the child that's going to get the lunch there?
Yes, previously the child had to be present, and that has now been waived, so a parent could come and pick up the food without the kiddo present. Although our staff serving lunches and those of us who go out and participate a little bit really enjoy seeing the kids. It helps with the spirits around the place just to have the window roll down and wave. But whatever a family needs, kids present, no longer required.
Any board questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Seeing nothing. Anything else, Monique?
Yes, I'd like to provide an update on what's occurring in the business office. Payroll is still going to be completed on schedule. We are also paying our vendors as that paperwork comes in. And of course, planning for our adopted budget, knowing that this is going to be a little bit unique related to the virus. We are tracking our expenses during the school closure to identify exactly what expenses are directly related to the closure, to be able to be in a position where we can be accountable for those expenses and any additional funds that we receive from the state.
Okay, so business office operations are, while not being completed necessarily normally, all the functions are being completed. Payroll, purchasing, all the accounting processes. We still have a 2021 budget to develop, as well as all other business functions. If you have questions there about any of those, as in all cases, just email schoolclosure@dixonusd.org.
Okay, board questions?
I have one question. So we may experience some expenses due to this closure, but are we also maybe experiencing some cost savings like utilities and busing? Are we still paying the busing even though we're not using it, or are we saving money in that area?
Yep, so the question, just to quickly summarize it, we know we have some additional expenses because of this situation. Are there any savings? Yes, we're not paying any substitute teachers. For example, right now it is one of the larger areas. Utility costs certainly are going to be lower. Some of the other contracts, yes, busing expenses, some of the professional development and other things that we normally would be incurring at this point. Exactly what those will look like, we don't know in the long run, but that is part of the whole process of sorry, I'm looking at two things at once, and I can't do that in my current state. That we will be tracking those expenses closely and quickly.
Okay, and those are all of my updates.
Monique, any other board questions or comments? Any public questions or comments?
You've got 19 minutes.
Okay, seeing none? Okay, seeing none, is that everyone for item 10.2?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to update on the process for filling board member vacancies.
All right, I'll take the lead here, ladies. Anything you want to jump in? So we did announce Mr. Gabby's resignation from the board at our last meeting. And so we are now actively soliciting applications to fill the seats. Information went out yesterday. It's on Facebook. It's on our district webpage. It will appear actually it was already in the Vacaville Reporter today. It will appear in the Tribune and the Independent Voice as well. There is an application that must be completed, a 500-word statement, a maximum of 500-word statement. On the website, you can find those materials as well as a small information packet to go to any interested parties. We'll provide an update at our next meeting on April 16th, discussing who has applied, and we certainly hope there will be people who do so, and finalize the process for the board to interview candidates and make an appointment. We'll review the questions that Jewel and Catlin have been working with me on developing, and establish a timeline for when we want to meet to conduct those interviews, whether that be in a special meeting or waiting to our next regular meeting. I welcome Catlin or Jewel to add anything in to that. Nope.
Just for people who didn't see the last time we discussed it, this is appointment until November.
Yes,
And
thank
then
you.
if they would be interested in staying on the board, they'd have to run.
Correct. So this appointment is will be into December to the normal seating of new board members. The remainder of Mr. Gabby's term, 2 years, will be on the November ballot. The filing period for that term is July. Yes. More information to come on that, but not tonight.
So when the application you mentioned, what's the best way for someone interested? Is it to print that out at home, fill it out, and then screenshot it or scan it and email it in? What's the best way for them to?
They can do it electronically, or we do have our new handy dandy Dropbox in the breezeway outside Suite 11, and we are emptying that every day at least once, so they can drop it off the old-fashioned way as well.
Any other board questions or comments on that? Any public questions or comments on filling the board vacancy? Okay, seeing none. Action item 10.4, approval change order number 5 for the Dixon Middle School project.
Yes, so as you can gather by change order number 5, this is the 5th change order related to the middle school project that continues to be worked on during this time of the virus. We have not seen them have any issues yet, although they do have some worry about masks that they use during construction to keep airborne particulate matter out of their systems. But so far, we maintain a busy schedule over there. So change order number 5 contains, back to my summary page here, contains 32 separate items. 29 of the items are due to unforeseen circumstances, and 3 are district directed. One of the 3 district directed is a credit in the amount of $28,284.05. The total cost associated with the change order is $350,424.23. 29 of the items being due to unforeseen circumstances. What this means is items that are needs that are identified since the original plans were established and the bid was awarded. So typically these are things when you open up a wall, you find termite damage or mold, or you believe that you had this element of plumbing that was in fine shape, and then when you test it further, you see that it must be there must be a replacement made. So these change order items are reviewed at the weekly construction meeting that happens with our project manager from School Site Solutions, myself, the architect, and the contractor. So these are vetted in several locations, and tonight are before the board for their approval.
Okay, do we have board questions? So the $28,000 credit, that's where we were able to lengthen the ramp and not have to go through the original plan, more expensive procedure.
Correct.
So PCO number 85, I'm curious about the 2 other districts directed. Could you remind us, surface mounted gym light fixtures?
Yes, we had, these are exterior lights, and for old timers who went to school there, they remember in the quad areas, there were some poles. There were problems with the connection to those poles. And so now there are 10 wall-mounted lights to illuminate the quad area.
Okay. And number 87, the additional data, I assume that's just to better have data access within the buildings? Or
yes, these were this added data was for the closed circuit TV network and for some additional keypads for the alarm system.
Okay. And then PCO 100, The unforeseen North MPR finishes, $63,000. What was that?
These finishes are actually concrete issues. So oftentimes when we talk about finishes, we're talking about paint and countertops and things of that nature inside. And this was an element of external concerns with concrete finishing that needed to be, some additional work needed to happen.
What kind of finishing? What was the issue? Was it a safety issue?
It was not, actually, if I remember correctly, it was an access issue. So how to travel kind of concern for accessibility that the change had to be made.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Any other board questions? Any public questions or comments on change order number 5? Okay. Seeing none, this is an action item. Do we have a motion for approval of change order number 5?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, Cindy.
Good evening again. Tonight, the board is asked to approve an extension on the superintendent's employment contract. I will just highlight a couple things, but the contract has been available to the public prior to tonight. Since 2002, the district's been paying 50% of the superintendent's share of his STIRS contribution. However, effective July 1st, 2020, should this contract extension get approved, the district will still pay the same amount, but instead to a longevity stipend. Superintendent has served the district for over 20 years. I would like to make sure it's noted that we are just changing the way that the district is paying superintendent equal to the same amount. The other thing to note is this master stipend is going to be in alignment with our certificated employees after they reach a certain amount of years serving in Dixon Unified School District. There's a change to the superintendent's work calendar to a positive work calendar of 223 days. This change is reflecting what's currently occurring. The contract is going to be extended to June 30th, 2021. And staff recommends board approval of this item.
Okay, do we have any board questions or comments? So the other than the increase that all teaching staff got and the master's stipend increase that all people with masters got, this is the same total compensation as the prior. Okay. Do we have any public questions or comments on Mr. Nolan's contract? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to read this again since I did it so long ago. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of the salary and/or fringe benefits for the executive position of Superintendent of Schools. Mr. Nolan is currently employed as the District Superintendent of Schools. It is proposed that Mr. Nolan's contract as the Superintendent of Schools is created for a one-year term commencing on July 1st, 2020 and ending on June 30th, 2021. The contract provides an annual salary of $187,101, a monthly travel allowance of $200, a master's degree stipend of $1,101, a longevity stipend of $9,588.93, cell phone stipend, and health benefits as provided for all management employees. No other changes or amendments will be made to the contract. Okay, do we have a motion to approve Mr. Dolan's contract?
I make a motion to approve Mr. Nolan's contract.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. 10C, Monique, Resolution 20-1624, 2021, additional cash advance.
This resolution would authorize the district to request a cash advance from the county treasurer to maintain our cash flow throughout the 2021 school year. We bring this type of resolution to you annually. It enables us to receive the cash at the beginning of the year and safeguards us from having cash flow issues throughout the year.
Okay, so okay, go ahead.
Yes, sorry.
I'll let you.
The constitutional advance resolution before the board tonight is one that we bring on an annual basis. It is a normal thing that school districts engage in, and it allows for the district to obtain property tax proceeds from the Solano County Treasurer in advance of the apportionment, normal apportionment period. This is done because of the schedule in which the state compensates districts with its regular revenue. So an annual practice that we would ask for your approval of again tonight.
So to put that another way, although these are difficult financial times, this is not because we're out of money, it's because of timing of funding versus, okay.
Annual issues of timing of funding.
And we obviously, as you both said, this is an annual thing. We've done this on another occasion. So do we have any board questions or comments on this resolution? Seeing none, do we have any public questions or comments on this resolution? Revolution. It could be a revolution. Resolution. Okay, seeing none, this is a resolution. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution for the constitutional cash? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And since this is a resolution,
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Resolution carries. Okay, Nick, new course proposals for high school students.
Yes, good evening again. As is typical this time of year, we bring forward any new courses that we're offering or would like to offer in the district. So I'll present 3 courses for your consideration and recommended approval from Dixon High School. I want to thank Stephanie and her team for putting these together. The first 2 on your cover sheet are elective courses in career technical education. In our programs that already exist, this would just represent another course for kids to be able to really dive deeper into the content. We don't envision either one of these courses being a standalone section. Rather, we would have kids push in, a fairly limited number of kids push into the other floral design and or computer science courses. So cost here would be non-existent to very, very minimal. With regard to the final class, the new chemistry course, the board last year, if you'll recall, had a presentation on the district's transition to a science program that reflects the next generation science standards. So the sophomore science class for students is proposed to be chemistry and the environment. The most notable difference between this chemistry course and the chemistry course that we currently offer is, in addition to being fully aligned with NGSS, it incorporates the earth and space sciences that that the NGSS calls upon us to do. Our first, just as a reminder, our first cohort of students in this new chemistry or this new science series of courses are currently freshmen, and they would roll into chemistry and the environment next year. That's it.
Do we have any board questions? Seeing none, any public questions? Seeing none. Okay, this is an action item. Do we have a motion to approve the new course proposals for high school students?
I'll move.
Approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Okay, I guess we're to agenda items for future meetings. Any requested agenda items for future meetings?
Well, one thing that I would like, I think, to be updated on is the course requests. We are kind of in limbo, just an update as to whether or not, you know, those are through and how we're going to handle these since we're not in school. That was one thing that I, question that I had.
Yep, we'll kind of expand that, just kind of call it a 2020-21 scheduling, student course scheduling process or something like that. So it'll be a little broader than just the course request, because there are other elements of that beyond the course request. So that's a good topic. Thank you.
I would like to have us do, I know we had a different vision of how we were going to do this, but everything changes. We originally talked about looking at doing an independent study sort of model and seeing what that looked like and visiting schools and all that sort of thing. That's obviously not going to happen now because those schools are shuttered as well as we are. But I still believe that we need to have an independent study model explored very heavily and potentially open for the fall, because I think some of our parents are going to find this an attractive way of learning. Some are struggling, some are going to find that this is exactly how they want to educate in perpetuity, and we need to be ready for that. So I would like to have us have a beginning of a series of reports and even maybe a committee that starts working on this. And you know, whether we have Zoom meetings with people, however we start to do that, but I think we have to be ready to hit the ground running in the fall with some sort of offering.
Topic of conversation this week. Yes.
So yes, I'd like to have the board involved in that and moving forward.
That may be able to be something with the teaching learning committee.
Okay. Jewel, anything you're requesting? No. Okay. For me, so board announcements. No, just hang in there, folks. You're all in a tough spot, as we all are. Keep working down it. Brian, any final comments before we?
No, just thank everybody. And 2 to 4 computer distribution tomorrow. Mark thanked the team doing that. I'll just toot our horn a little bit. We had 250 computers on Wednesday evening in 2 hours and 20 minutes. Right? And I didn't clog up the line. I enjoyed saying hello to so many of our families, but we have been down to a science at this point in time. And just again, a thank you to everyone. Right now, our teachers are front and center, talking to parents in that computer line. A mom over at Anderson today picking up lunch. This is a challenge for everybody. We got to stay positive. We got to stick together. When people ask me, how are you doing? I say, I'm doing like I've never done before. Let's count our blessings around here and stay focused on doing our best. So thank you.
And keep taking advantage of the free lunch and breakfast. Please get those for kids. And again, our love goes out to the Tuts. And with that, do we have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll move to close.
Do we have a second? A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting closed.